Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. Today, we're bringing you breaking news that has sent fans into an absolute frenzy. In breaking, Ahn Eun-jin confirms relationship with Jang Ki-yong, fans erupt. The actress has finally put months of rumors to rest with one bold confirmation that no one saw coming. How did this reveal happen? Why did this single statement ignite such an explosive reaction online? Stay with us as we break down the confirmation, the fan response, and what this means moving forward. Let's get into it right now. The moment the words appeared, the internet stopped breathing. Countdown. No teaser. No gradual hint to prepare anyone for what was coming. Just a single, unmistakable confirmation attributed to Ahn Eun-jin, clear enough to silence speculation. Bold enough to ignite chaos. Jang Ki-yong was no longer a rumor. No longer a question mark hovering at the edge of interviews and fan theories. He was named. Directly. Publicly. And within seconds, everything changed. Fan communities exploded into motion. Screens refreshed endlessly as disbelief gave way to shock. And shock turned into raw excitement. Clips from past interviews resurfaced. Replayed frame by frame. Casual glances, shared smiles. Pauses that once meant nothing now carried new weight. The past was being rewritten in real time. For months, the signs had been there, or at least that's what everyone believed now. Ahn Eun-jin's careful answers whenever romance came up. Ki-yong's consistent refusal to engage with personal questions. Their mutual restraint had always felt deliberate. No one imagined it would end like this. What stunned fans most was not the relationship itself. It was the certainty. There was no ambiguity in the confirmation attributed to her. We're getting to know each other. No attempt to soften the impact. The language was firm, composed, and unmistakably final. A boundary had been crossed. And there was no retreat. Within minutes, reactions split sharply. Some celebrated wildly, filling timelines with messages of support, relief, and long-awaited validation. Others recoiled, stunned not by the pairing but by the abruptness. Now, why this way? Why without warning? The industry watched closely. Public confirmations like this are rare for a reason. They invite attention that cannot be controlled. Narratives that cannot be fully corrected. Ahn Eun-jin was known for her caution. Ability to navigate fame without surrendering her private world. The move seemed to contradict everything she had been praised for. And yet, there it was. A line drawn so clearly that even denial was no longer possible. Behind the scenes, sources described a moment of quiet resolve rather than impulsive excitement. This was not a confession blurted out in emotion. It was a decision made with full awareness of the consequences. That awareness did not soften the reaction. If anything, it intensified it. As the initial shock settled, deeper questions began to surface. Fans wanted context. Media wanted explanation. Everyone wanted to understand what had pushed Ahn Eun-jin to speak so directly, so definitively. But no follow-up statement arrived. Instead, there was silence, controlled, deliberate, and unyielding. Jang Ki-yong did not rush to confirm or deny. He did not post, comment, or react publicly. Absence from the conversation only sharpened it. Some interpreted it as privacy. Others as strategy. A few as tension. Interpretation found an audience. The confirmation, rather than closing the story, it wider than anyone expected. Industry observers noted how quickly the narrative shifted from celebration to scrutiny. Questions about timing emerged. About pressure. About whether the confirmation was preemptive. A way to reclaim control before speculation turned more invasive. What made the situation volatile was its emotional symmetry. Ahn Eun-jin's confirmation was calm, yet powerful. Jang Ki-yong's silence was equally composed. Deeply unsettling to those craving reassurance. Together, they created a vacuum where imagination rushed in. Behind closed doors, those familiar with celebrity dynamics suggested the confirmation may have been less about romance and more about boundaries. Statement not designed to invite applause, but to end guessing. To draw a line between what belonged to the public and what would remain private. If that was the intention, the result was paradoxical. The line only made people lean closer. Yet amid the noise, one pattern became clear. Neither party attempted to perform happiness. There were no staged moments. No emotional declarations. No attempt to monetize the reveal. The confirmation stood alone, factual, restrained. and resistant to spectacle. That restraint, ironically, became the most powerful element of the story. Because it forced fans to confront something uncomfortable. Not every reveal is meant to entertain. Some are meant to conclude. Breaking news thrives on escalation. This story refused to escalate. It simply existed, firm, unembellished, and unapologetic. The public will eventually receive more clarity remains uncertain. What is certain is that a threshold has been crossed. Eun-jin's confirmation altered not just a narrative. Relationship between expectation and entitlement. Fans erupted not only because of love revealed, because control shifted. And in that shift, the story became less about romance, and more about agency. A rare thing in the spotlight. That continues to reverberate. What followed the confirmation was not celebration, it was recalibration. As days passed, the frenzy did not disappear. It changed shape. The screaming excitement softened into intense analysis. Fans no longer asked if the relationship was real. They asked what it meant, for careers, for privacy, for everything that came next. Jin's choice to confirm had shifted the balance of power. For the first time, the narrative was no longer driven by whispers or blurred photos or half-answers. It was anchored to a single, undeniable truth. Truth forced everyone, fans, media, even industry insiders, to confront their expectations. Some felt betrayed, as if a private fantasy had been altered without permission. Others felt relieved, grateful that honesty had replaced endless speculation. Support poured in alongside disappointment. Admiration beside disbelief. The fandom fractured. Not out of hostility, but out of emotion. Jang Ki-yong's continued silence became the center of gravity. Every appearance he made was dissected. Posture. His tone. His restraint. To some, his quiet felt respectful, a refusal to turn love into performance. To others, it felt strategic. Calculated, even cold. The absence of words became louder than any statement could have been. And yet, those closest to the situation described no discord. On the contrary, they spoke of alignment. Of two people agreeing, without spectacle, on how far the public would be allowed to step into their lives. Information was not the beginning of exposure. It was the end of guessing. What shocked many observers was how quickly the story lost its usual fuel. Without emotional escalation. Without contradictory statements. Without scandal, the cycle slowed. There was nothing to chase. No cracks to exploit. In an industry addicted to reaction, restraint became radical. Ahn Eun-jin returned to her work with visible calm. She was focused on projects, not personal life. When questions drifted too close, redirected them with ease, not defensiveness. Confidence suggested something settled. Something no longer up for debate. The confirmation had done its job. It drew a boundary, and held it. For fans, the eruption slowly gave way to acceptance. Not everyone approved. Not everyone understood. Most recognized something rare, a public figure choosing clarity without surrendering intimacy. The story that once threatened to spiral into endless noise found its limits. Breaking news had broken, and then stopped. Remains is not a cliffhanger, but a consequence. Jin's confirmation altered how her story will be told going forward. Jang Ki-yong's silence reframed how presence can be expressed without words. Together, they demonstrated a form of control that celebrity culture rarely tolerates. The relationship is no longer a mystery. Also no longer a spectacle. And in that quiet aftermath, one truth stands firm. Sometimes, the most explosive moment is not what follows the revelation, but the calm that proves it was never meant to entertain. It was meant to end the guessing. And it did. As the excitement settles and the echoes of breaking news begin to fade, one thing becomes clear. Ahn Eun-jin's confirmation was never meant to fuel endless speculation, it was meant to bring it to a close. In a world that thrives on access and reaction, choosing clarity without spectacle is a powerful act. This story was not about shock alone. About agency, about drawing a boundary and standing firmly behind it. Whether met with celebration, surprise, quiet reflection, the confirmation changed the conversation in a way few public moments ever do. Thank you for staying with us through this intense and emotional journey. Your time, attention, and willingness to look beyond the headline are truly appreciated. This has been Behind the Bulletin. Until the next story. Thank you for watching, and for listening.